This week on Dumb Pitches, my guest is JJ Whitehead, and we go all the way from being too drunk or high on stage to what we think comedy clubs and venues in the United States should do, which is give people more drinks than they already are. It's a pretty good time. Here we go, Dumb Pitches.
What a bunch of dumb pitches. Oh my goodness.
Welcome to another episode of Dumb Pitches with Monica Nevi. I'm Monica Nevi, your host. This is the show where we talk to successful people about their worst ideas. I am very, very excited about our guest this week and his closet that he's in.
Coming to you from the closet.
JJ Whitehead is here. Yay.
This is where I have to go for acoustics in my apartment.
But at least, you know what? You put some thought into it. We appreciate that.
Well, it actually works. Like, you want to talk about dumb pitches? Because I was doing a cartoon during the pandemic and the studios were closed, and I didn't tell them, because I did say, well, I'll just use one of those handheld mics. I'll go into my closet to fix the acoustics, and I'll do it there. And they were like, "That's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea." And then closer to the time, I went, "Yeah, I'm at my friend's place. He's got a studio," and I just didn't tell them that this is where I was.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then afterwards, they were like, "That sounds great. It sounds fantastic.
This audio is amazing."
Yeah, I fucking fooled ya.
Got it. That's pretty good. You got to just run with it sometimes. Even if it is a bad idea, you just run with it anyways.
Yeah.
All right. So we do like to start the show giving everyone your credits, your good ideas, so they know that you have made some good choices.
Oh, this is exciting for me too.
Well, good. Here we go. But you honestly, I mean, we have cool people on lots, but you have a pretty good. Not only have you done a lot of stand up and been on TV and stuff in the U.S., but you've been on the TV like a lot in the U.K. and Canadian, like just different stuff, which is awesome. You're a writer, which is one of our favorite things to talk about on this show, is just ideas that you've had. So if people don't know, you were the writer for the Jim Jeffries Show on Comedy Central, Web Rats, Comedy Cuts, 7 Days. Like, you just have a lot of stuff. You have 4 stand-up albums that are out. You're apparently involved with a cartoon.
Yeah.
Lots of fun stuff.
I did a cartoon during the pandemic called Hot Wheels City.
Hot Wheels City.
Which was so much fun. It's a stop motion cartoon. It's for kids, by the way, too. It's called Hot Wheels. It's like Dukes of Hazzard-y, like these brothers cleaning up Hot Wheels City. Anyway, that was it's got a few million hits on YouTube, so
that counts. Yeah,
so it did all right. But this one that I was doing right now, it's a European cartoon, and I swear, you want to talk about bad ideas? Here's a bad idea that I'll tell you. So, because as you know, I've been doing it for like 3 hours. I got up early this morning, and we have 3 vignettes or whatever that we're doing, and we're on the third one. We reached this magical third one about 45 minutes ago, and everybody in the cast, because it's evening in Europe, they all decided it's time to crack the first drink.
Oh.
And that is a terrible idea.
While you're recording a children's cartoon, you're just like drinking in the background.
This one's definitely for adults.
Adults, okay. Well, that maybe makes it better, but
it's got a shitload of F-bombs in it. But it's never a good idea. It's never a good idea when you crack the booze. I got to admit, I joined them a little bit. I had to put a little bit of whiskey in my coffee just to fit in.
Yeah, but you don't want to be the square that's out. Yeah, that makes sense.
But the whole production falls apart. Everything falls apart. It doesn't. People aren't even drunk yet. You just once you have 2 sips of beer, it's terrible.
It's gone. That's
hilarious. And can I also say that it was the director who suggested it? The director was like, "Yeah, you guys have done a lot of work here. This is all good. We're doing really good on this third script. I tell you what, I'm gonna crack a beer." So the rest of us, all the talent, we all went, "Okay, yeah, we'll all start."
I guess we're drinking
too.
now, yeah.
And then we all came back and we were drinking, and then one of the guys noticed on the camera, the director, it was a non-alcoholic beer that he was drinking. So he kind of he kind of opened the hell mouth for himself. He didn't realize what he was saying.
Yeah, I guess so. That's so funny. Everyone's like, well, if he's drinking, I am. But then he wasn't drinking the whole time. That's
Yeah,
great.
then the party starts, and the one guy who said, I'm going to get a beer, it turns out he was drinking non-alcoholic stuff.
That's
Terrible.
hilarious. That's okay. And I hadn't done that on this podcast yet. Not that I mean, I'm in a studio, so obviously drinking here would be a little bit different. But I've done a couple of episodes by myself, like my own bad ideas. And honestly, I did one last week from a hotel room. And
Right?
I had smoked weed before, and it took me a while to actually put it up because I was like, I don't know if this is okay.
Yeah, that's often a bad idea.
Yeah, the weed maybe, I don't know. I just get so much farther in my own head that it's like I don't even know what I'm saying after a while. Well,
Yeah.
anyways.
And I don't know about you, but I'm not a fast talker at the best of times.
Right.
I'm not known for, so if I get stoned before a gig or something, I can tell the audience can tell, and I'm not just paranoid. I
Yeah.
can fucking tell that they're like, this guy is talking a mile fucking every 10 minutes.
Well, that's what everyone like. I mean, not everyone. There are shows where you're supposed to smoke that like I do those sometimes.
Yeah.
But a lot of comics, at least used to, just smoke before their sets all the time, and I like could never just do that because I was like, they're gonna know, and I don't like the one time I accidentally had an edible, like I had an edible at like 11 a.m. And this was before it was like legal in a package. You knew how many like milligrams were in it or whatever.
Yeah.
I had a cookie that somebody made, I don't know. We don't know how much was in it. And I was I was still so high by the time I had a show at like 7 p.m. that I was like
Yeah.
freaking out. And then I did my time, but it felt like forever, But I didn't want anybody to know because that felt unprofessional to me at the time. I was also very young. But afterwards, someone like pulled me outside and I was like, oh no, like, am I in trouble? And they were like, I just wanted to tell you that you reminded me of Mitch Hedberg, which no one's ever said to me in my whole life. And so the fact that the one time I was high, they were like, yeah, you sounded like a dude that's high. Yeah.
Yeah. You sound like this guy that gets high.
Yeah. I was like, oh.
Well, that's good. You sounded like I'm going to
a more successful comedian.
No. I'm going to call him a functioning drug addict.
Yeah,
so,
fair. Yeah.
Because if I do drugs before I go on stage, I don't come across as a functioning drug addict.
Like this
I don't
guy.
know how people do it. I feel that some people just operate a really intense level, I think. And when they take weed, it brings them down to everybody else's level,
maybe
I guess.
that's it. Yeah.
I've even dated those people where I'm like, how do you do that? Like, I was dating somebody a couple years ago and she was like doing bucket bongs and stuff. And I'm like, you're an adult. What is this? Why are you doing bucket bongs?
Bucket
And
bongs.
I realized, oh, you're just a high functioning pothead.
Yeah, that's true. I know a few of those, I guess.
Because I do not have that trick.
No, I think about it too much. Okay, anyways, that's fun. Plenty of little bad ideas in there anyways, but
Yeah.
is there anything specific you thought of for bad ideas?
No, I mean, you've got so many of them are just coming to me as we're talking.
Perfect. We can do that. That's nice.
But because I have done mushrooms before a gig, and you just reminded me I did.
Really?
Yeah.
Somebody
I've done most drugs before a gig just to see what it's like.
just to see what it's like. Somebody asked me the other day if I would do mushrooms beforehand, and I said maybe, but it's been a long time since I've done mushrooms in general. But I like them.
Yeah.
I used to do them, not all the time, but often enough. And I don't explain me what happened because I need to know what that was like.
Well, I was at a festival the whole weekend, like running up to this gig. So it was in Britain. I think it was the Glastonbury Festival because they have a comedian's tent there.
Mm.
So I'd already been doing a festival amount of drugs because also your stand-up comedy performance doesn't matter as much.
No.
When you're just kind of baying to a tent of, drunken festival goers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very fun festival, but I had to come all the way back into London to do a show. And I was still kind of high. I'd been partying for 3 days and I dropped mushrooms because I just thought, it'll be fine. But I had to follow a magician, I don't know if he was a close-up magician or what he was. But I had to follow this magician, and I was tripping out just watching him.
I was gonna say, watching a magician, you'd be like, "How did he fucking do that?"
I was like, "What the fuck's going on?" And I'm gonna go on next, and he's doing his trick. But his final trick, the cards. He has a deck of cards, and for his final trick, they ended up all over the stage. Oh. They're everywhere, and they didn't clean up. So they just sent me on after this magician.
And there's just cards all over the place.
And all his shit's everywhere. And there's all these cards on the floor. And I just started coming up on mushrooms. And I swear to God, I've got the cards are like animated around me. And I'm losing my place. And I'm just tripping balls at what the magician has left behind. And that was all the warning I needed to not get too high from now on when you're about to go on stage.
Did you say anything about it, like when you were on stage? Did you tell them that you were high, or were you like...
I had friends there, and they told me I mentioned it too much.
Oh.
I was like, I got off, and I was like, "Geez, did you see the cards and stuff?" And they're like, "Yeah, dude, you kept talking about it. None of us could see them. They're on the
floor, right? Yeah.
The audience can't see what I'm looking at, and I'm just like, what the fuck? There's a king here and a joker there, and it's a good thing you can walk away from gigs.
That is true. I guess you're like, I'm gonna leave now. That's fine. Oh
yeah.
Man. Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm positive it was not my best work.
You've done other drugs before you gotten on stage.
I've done the collection. I think I've mixed it up, you know.
Is anyone where you were like, that was a good idea, I enjoyed that, or what was the worst one? Because I mean, cards flying around when you're trying to pretend to do stand-up seems distracting. But
yeah, I generally, you know what? I've never had a better gig if I'm high. I just haven't.
Yeah, that's fair.
Some comics do say they do, but no. I mean, I get if I'm like, you know, maybe a beer or something before, but that's not enough to get you intoxicated or anything like that. So right. overall I have learned that my best performances are sober. Have I always stuck to that lesson? Not necessarily, but I am aware.
I've been like drunker than I should have been probably enough times, you know. It just kind of happens sometimes. And I guess I never had the thought of like, oh, this is probably better, but I knew that it wasn't bad. Like, that's not a very good excuse, but you're like, I can do this just fine drunk, which I mean, so I'm sure you have as well, had friends who got sober, and that was a concern of theirs, was like, am I still going to be funny sober? Yeah. And I do think everyone I've ever known is like, yeah, you're better when you're sober, no matter what.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. The stoners who pull it off, I mean, I applaud them.
Yeah. Done. Well, and it feels like maybe it's part of their act sometimes too, or like if they talk about it a lot, then they feel like they need to be high, but I don't know if that.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Have you ever done one of the shows where you're supposed to smoke weed?
I have, yeah.
You have? Okay.
And I'm really not sure how they ever go. I think they go all right, but I'd tell you right now, I can't, if I'm stoned or drunk, I can't, if somebody, because I've done a couple of podcasts and stuff, but as soon as I hear the first two words out of my mouth, and I mean, nobody enjoys listening to their own voice anyway.
That's fair, yeah.
But when I have to listen back to something where I know I was intoxicated, I just like, turn it off. I don't want to listen to this guy. I hate myself.
That is a fair, like, I think my drunk self and my stoned self are very different. Like,
right.
I am, and maybe that's true for everybody, but I don't really talk a ton in real life. Like, I have to like feel real comfortable with people before I'm like on, you know, or like drawing attention to myself if I'm not on stage. But when I'm drunk, I'm like, I need to tell everyone everything right now and like talk so much. And then when I'm high, I'm like so paranoid that I'm like, am I talking? I shouldn't talk. I shouldn't say anything. I don't think. It's like completely different.
Yeah, and it's hard, and you're on a rhythm that you don't even understand, actually, because when you're not high, you have an ability to get into a rhythm with other people.
Yeah.
But when you are high, you're just the punchline as they act in rhythm and come back to you, and you just go, what? Are we in the middle of a conversation?
Yeah. Did I already say that? I say that all the time when if I'm like really high, I forget what I'm saying, like as I'm saying it. And
Yeah.
so then I'll like start talking again and convince myself that I had already said it, whether I did or not, which is like a big fear I've always had with stand up, that I'll start a joke that I already did in that set, which has
Yeah.
never happened ever. But I have been high or something and asked if I did I already do this joke? And they'll be like, no. Then it's just weird. Why did you say
Yeah,
that?
I've fallen into that danger too. And Ed Byrne, the comedian Ed Byrne, great Irish comedian, he took me on tour once, and he does a thing where, so it's a British comedy, so they love a break in the middle, right?
Right.
So the opening comic, but Ed Byrne does a thing where he introduces his opening comics. So Ed Byrne will introduce his opening comic. They'll do 20 to 25 minutes. Then you have a break. And Ed does this nice little cute thing where he's in street clothes when he introduces the comics. But then after the break, his support act does another 5 minutes, comes out, does another bit, and then introduces Ed Byrne, and he's all ready to go. And so although I haven't done the thing of doing the joke twice, I have done punchlines to the two jokes that I was supposed to do in the first half, and I forgot to do. And Ed knew that I had forgotten to do certain jokes and stuff, and I did all these callbacks before I brought them on in the second half, and they still worked.
Really? But but you hadn't done the punchline to call back to?
I hadn't done the joke or the punchline before, so it just sounded like I was saying goofy things, and it was still working on the audience. Ed came out, when he came out, he's like, "You didn't even fucking do those jokes. You did the callbacks."
Did you remember that you hadn't done it?
No, I hadn't. I was just,
until he told you, you were like, oh. But if they worked, then you're like, oh yeah, they remember from before. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it just seemed like I was, I guess my tag just seemed like I was saying weird things.
That's hilarious. And they were like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, good on him for paying enough attention to know that you didn't call it back.
Yeah.
That is a thing in, I don't know if it's the UK or if it's just in England, but the breaks. Because I did shows in London, and then I did some in Liverpool a few years ago. And both of them had 2 breaks. So it'd be like 20 minutes, then a break, then 20 minutes, then a break, then the end of the show, And I was like, I'm so afraid. Like, I'm used to the U.S. where it's like, if they don't like one little bit, they would leave at intermission or something. You know what I mean? Like, especially because it wasn't a big theater or anything. It was like a bar show kind of thing.
That's always the theory as well. I know that. Well, that happens. Yeah, that's always the theory. I mean, it doesn't happen. I feel like maybe that's what happened in the 80s or 90s.
Maybe.
And people have just stuck with it because Britain's long since evolved, and nobody's going anywhere. And if anything, I feel like you should trust your audiences more to have their own conversations in a break. Put some music on, let the people talk about the acts that they just saw and what jokes they like.
Yeah.
And they're right back at it after the break, and they get booze, because that's what they do in Britain as well. There's not table service, there's a bar. So they have that 10-15 minute break in between the comics, so you can go to the bar, get drinks for your friends, or your friends can sit there and discuss what's going on. But yeah, I got the same thing. I mean, there was a club, and I was getting them to put in a break, just because the bar was overwhelmed, and they're like, "We got to start," and I was like, "Just have a break."
Yeah.
And they made more tips than they had ever made, which is, it's so crazy that they haven't realized that in America, that you can get tips for your bar staff, you can lighten the congestion in the bar.
That's a good point about the talking about it, though, because I do think there's an attention span thing there too, where it's like, I don't get heckled very often, but I do get people like breaking off into conversations about the jokes I just did.
Right.
I'm like, I'm still up here, but if you gave them a little time to be like, oh, this is what I liked about that one, and then I'll get a drink and then I'll come back. You're right. Maybe we should trust each other more. That's what I said, though, when I was in Liverpool. I was like, this is crazy. Like, no one does breaks at all. Even if you're at a theater where they normally do an intermission, people will try to convince them not to do that. And me, I'm like, that's how they, especially at a theater, like that's how they make money from concessions. People can't just stay in the theater the whole time and then it'll be closed, whatever. But that's what they were saying when I was in Liverpool, was that they used to have one break, but then people would go to the bar and come back with like 4 drinks because they wouldn't be able to go back, so they put in another break so that they could get another drink in between.
Right. Well, hey, that means they're spending money.
Yeah, exactly. That's good.
Spending money at the bar, and so you're not like, yeah, because that's another thing that you can never give British people or even Europeans. You can't really give Europeans a 2-drink minimum. They don't. They don't even. That's completely unnecessary.
Yeah, you're like, why even pretend like you put a rule out there? That's true. Oh, they'll
drink themselves. But see, but this is that American system. I think we're missing out, like, because people learn to want to drink and stuff at a comedy club, and instead of getting their check drop, which is what happens in America, check drop, get out of here. Instead, they're spending an extra $20-$30 on getting all these extra drinks that by the time the last comic is wrapping up, they haven't finished yet, and they don't know what they.
That's true. And some people like hate 2-item minimum or anything, whether like you would get that anyways. Like those don't bother me because I'll probably have 2 drinks and maybe a food item anyways, like it's all. But the fact that they tell you that, I think, pisses people off sometimes.
Yeah, I find it insulting. I find it weirdly insulting.
Right, I'll get as many drinks as I want.
If I go to a place, I don't want to be told that I have to also have an additional commitment to certain things. I just want to go somewhere and enjoy it. So that does seem a bit rough sometimes. And sometimes the bedside manner to people telling comedy goers isn't that nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, thank you for your money to come in. Now you have to buy. Oh, this happened to me recently at the Moroccan Lounge. I was at the Moroccan Lounge in LA here, going to see a band. And oh, that's right. It wasn't a 2-drink minimum or anything, but that's right. They didn't have they couldn't take my credit card. They had to. They were cash only, and they were acting like I should know. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. And so many people were now getting frustrated because they hadn't brought cash to the gig.
Yeah, people don't really carry cash anymore, anyways.
They weren't ready. Yeah, and it was I mean, that's the Moroccan Lounge. It's cash to get in, but you can use a credit card at the bar. And I was like, this is really weird. But so many frustrated people because people don't have a good bedside manner.
Yeah, which is like. That makes it harder for us or for the band or whoever, because it's like we want you to have a good time and all I can do is what I do, which is my jokes or play the music or something. But if you have a bad experience before or during that because of something else, it kind of ruins it for me. Like I need their attention, and if they're pissed off at the server because they didn't get enough sodas or whatever, then they're not listening to me.
Exactly.
So that's the idea. You get rid of the item minimums, give them a break so that they can choose to drink on their own.
Yeah, I mean, people are gonna drink a comedy. I mean, I've never worried about. I don't know how. I guess maybe North Americans. I don't think so. See, I think North Americans drink a lot.
I do too,
as well. I don't know why we have to force it on them, and especially comedy fans. I think comedy fans love to drink. And so I don't get it. I don't get why we're worried about them running away on us. Yeah. That's one thing they always say about Britain, though. The British have set the standard for getting drunk at comedy gigs,
or just because anywhere. But
yes, or just anywhere. Yeah.
Well, because I went to a concert when I was there when I was doing the shows and stuff. I went to this concert in Leeds, and I was in an arena, or like a big and here. And I don't know if it's state by state, but at least in Washington, we went to a concert together once. I think it was similar rules there where it's like you can only buy 2 drinks at a time or whatever, and they have to be in plastic and they have to be certain, whatever. It's got all these things where you can't. And then I was there in Leeds, and this woman starts walking up the stairs with a full wine bottle, like a glass wine bottle. And I was like, oh, that's cool that they would like give them the bottle and then enough cups. And then I realized all of her friends also have a full wine bottle. Like they each bought a bottle of wine and just were walking up the stairs with it. And I was like, that's crazy. But then I don't know, I was performing at a winery the other day, and he was like, instead of getting up, just buy the whole bottle, so that people didn't have to keep getting up and getting drinks, which worked. They did that. And I was like, I don't really understand I guess that they think they're going to give it away or something, but there's just so many rules about like.
Yeah, I don't get that either. I went to a Grateful Dead concert with Dave Waite recently.
Oh, Dave's been on the podcast. That's great.
Which was lots of fun. That was my first ever. I've never had a Grateful Dead experience, But he got the tickets, so I get the first round. So once we get in, I'm like right away, I'm like, all right, first round's on me, which is gonna be, it's the Dodger. It was at Dodger Stadium, so it's gonna be like $15 a beer or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But I buy the beers, and then there was four of us, and so I buy the beers, but I was only allowed two.
Yeah.
So I had to. And the same thing happened at a hockey game recently here, and I'm like, so I got to wave at my adult friends.
Yeah, we got to. Okay.
And say you have to come over and vouch for two other beers. Like, what do you think I'm gonna do with these?
I know. I can't even carry them. Hold on. It's yeah, that happens. There's bowling alleys here that, you go and get a pitcher and you're with friends or whatever, one other person, and they're like, okay, well, you can take your glass. They have to come and show me their ID before I can give you the other glass. And I'm like, you don't think I can't just drink out of this pitcher? But okay. It's just a weird stuff like that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Trust people, maybe. I don't know. Would it be worse
There's
if we
some
just let them
weird
drink
rules.
as much? I don't know, but yeah.
I think people are missing out on the system. It's pretty efficient, and then people hang out after the gigs as well. But
Yeah. Anyways, I think we're on to something then. We need to change some of the rules around here.
yeah.
Be more...
Hey, America, get your audiences drunk. Don't threaten them that they have to get drunk.
Yes, you really need to facilitate their drinking appropriately so that you would. But you're right in saying that they would make more money too. I mean, that's not.
Yeah, all the bar staff, like when I forced a break on a North American club a couple years ago, I forced this break and they were so excited. Like, I've never made, the waiters and waitresses made so much in tips.
Well, some clubs do weirder shit, which that would be so much better. Let everybody pee. That's the thing about headlining at on a 3-piece show like that, is that people have to pee right around, like 15 minutes into your set. So people get up, which is annoying. But they don't, some people, because the clubs still want to serve, they want to sell more. So in between the feature and the headliner, they'll do like a shot special. So like the host like has a shot on stage and then they're like going around taking shot, which kills, the actual momentum of the show because you're making everyone still sit there and then awkwardly be like, I'll take a shot. It's like if you just gave them a break instead.
That seems crazy. Yeah, that seems absolutely crazy. That seems like the kind of thing that the host should say, hey, everybody, it's break time. We got our fantastic headliner up here after this. Give it up one more time for comic A to Z that you just saw. And hey, I'm doing a shot. They're on special now. Yeah. See you in 10 minutes.
Go get them. Yeah, go
boom,
potty, come back. All right.
Why aren't we running clubs?
Yeah.
We don't have the fucking time.
No, because these are the ideas we're thinking about, not all the other things. Like, how do we get people more drunk?
Yeah.
But that's maybe they would be less angry if they got drunk on their own accord and not because you made them buy two. I don't know, but
I think you're right. I think the psychology, I don't know how we've never addressed that, or it doesn't feel like it's ever addressed. It just feels mean and like an order when people have paid to come and see you, and then you're like, okay, I know you've paid me, but you also have to pay me more.
Yeah.
While you're here.
It feels like they're tricking you or something too, where you're like, I just wanted you to be honest with me from the get-go, and now
I've seen bouncers have to get warned about, like, I know at the Comedy Store in London one time they hired a new bouncer, and I remember he had come over from like the nightclubs. Mm-hmm. So he's like this nightclub bouncer, so he's used to like kind of threatening 18 to 30-year-olds basically to behave. And he was treating the comedy audience coming in like kind of the same, like reading them the riot act and kind of stone-faced. And he's like this big, like Chechen guy. And he's just like, seems threatening. He's like, I will kick you out. If you're allowed, you middle act. If you talk in the middle of the show, I kick you out, kind of thing. And I remember after a few days and all the comics started saying, like, he's giving weird vibes to the room.
Yeah.
And it trickles down into the room. And you got a couple of hundred terrified people trying to laugh. It's not working. And eventually, one of the other bouncers had to go and say, "Hey, dude, this is comedy. It's a comedy club. We need you to. You're actually the first point of contact. Yeah. We need you to come in, and it's the same thing for this. And you have to buy 2 drinks thing. It's like it's just a, I don't know. It's just a slap to the face. Yeah. In a sense. It's just a jarring. Everybody's gonna have fun until you get told off before you've even gotten in the club.
It feels like kids, like parenting or something, where you're like, when you try to restrict them too much, then they rebel a little bit. But if you give them responsibility on their own, oh, we'll allow you to drink during these breaks whenever you want, then they feel like a sense of control. Yes, treat their comedy audiences not like drunk assholes. Treat them like children. That's what I'm saying.
There you go. Yeah, but it feels like more like their night, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well,
and yes, and that's the other thing about your wine bottles that you're saying. I bet you a lot of those wine bottles, when they buy the whole wine bottle and come back, I bet you a lot of them didn't even get finished.
Yeah. You just put the cork back in it or whatever. Take it with you. Why not?
Oh, there you go.
A little souvenir. Oh goodness! All right. Well, yeah, all the way from being drunk or high on stage to the drunk and high audience. That's what we went in this episode. It was great. Well, thank you so much for being here. Will you tell everybody where they can follow you, find you, come see you, whatever website, those things?
Yeah. Well, right on. I'm JJ Whitehead on most of the social media stuff, and JJ Whitesnake as well on other ones because I was drunk when I signed up.
Look at this, all full circle.
I don't know if you do that, but I did that, whatever that was, 2009 or 2010, when my manager was like, you have to be on Twitter. And you think that we have social media like overload now. Like I still had it in 2010 and I thought, what the fuck is this Twitter thing? Screw this. And I used a name JJ Whitesnake instead because I thought everything's coming and going every 10 minutes right now.
Yeah, like, so why?
And here we are, Twitter's still around. So I do use JJ Whitesnake now on some social media. So you can find me there. And I feel like I'm on everything now. It's the pandemic's fault.
Yeah, I've been watching your TikToks lately. So
I have, that's fucking TikTok.
I know.
You're not going to see me in person in TikTok, but I put comedy clips up on stuff and Instagram reels and I have a Twitch channel. As well, which is all insane. And then I'll be touring the UK. I don't know if you have any UK fans and stuff, but that's what's next on the docket for me. I'm heading over to Britain in about 12 days, and I'll be in a whole bunch of UK cities.
Oh, that's exciting. Awesome. Well, yes, follow JJ. Thank you for being
where they'll
here.
Be drunk.
Yes, and you can say hi during a break.
Yeah, they'll be drunk without prompting.
Yes, exactly. He's going to do more research for our changes here.
That's what I'm doing. I'm doing noble research. I'll report back.
It is science. That's what you're going over there to do.
That's right.
Well, that's great. Yes, give him a follow, subscribe, and rate and review and all that stuff here. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. We also have YouTube memberships. If you want to join those, you get the episodes a day before and some extra bonus content. It's worth it, I promise. But right now, you can just keep watching Dumb Pitches.
You're weird.
Yes.